I'm staring at the wedding invitation in my hands, cream-colored cardstock with gold foil lettering announcing my sister's destination wedding in Tuscany. All expenses paid for 80 guests. Private villa. Michelin star catering. A 4-day celebration that cost more than most people's houses. The invitation is beautiful, elegant, perfect, and it was funded with money that was supposed to save my life. My name is Melissa Hartley. I'm 35 years old, and I'm a graphic designer from Minneapolis. Or at least, I was a graphic designer before stage 3 breast cancer turned my life into a nightmare of chemo appointments, surgical consultations, and treatment plans I couldn't afford. I'm supposed to be talking about color palettes and brand identities. Instead, I'm talking about tumor markers and survival rates and the $180,000 my community raised to keep me alive, money my parents gave to my sister so she could have the wedding of her dreams while I was trying not to die. But let me start at the beginning, because this story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with hope. I found the lump on a Tuesday. Small, hard, unmistakable, even though I desperately wanted it to be nothing. I was 33 years old, healthy, no family history of breast cancer. These things weren't supposed to happen to people like me. But cancer doesn't care about statistics or fairness or the fact that you've been doing everything right. The diagnosis came back 2 weeks later. Invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 3, aggressive. The oncologist used words like immediate treatment and extensive protocol and significant financial burden. Even with insurance, my out-of-pocket costs would exceed $200,000. Specialized treatments, experimental options that might improve my survival rate, targeted therapies that insurance deemed not medically necessary, none of it was covered. I had $23,000 in savings. I was self-employed, which meant no employer benefits, no disability coverage, no safety net. I did the math sitting in my car in the hospital parking lot, and the numbers were impossible. I couldn't afford to live. Literally. The cost of survival was more than I could ever pay. That's when my community stepped in. My best friend Andrea set up a fundraising campaign. She shared my story, 33-year-old woman fighting for her life, talented designer, beloved friend, someone who'd spent years contributing to the community through volunteer work and kindness. She posted photos from before I got sick, me at the animal shelter where I volunteered, me teaching free design workshops at the library, me being someone worth saving. The response was overwhelming. Friends donated. Strangers donated. Local businesses held fundraisers. The high school where I designed their yearbook for free did a charity walk. Within 6 weeks, the campaign had raised $180,000. $180,000. Enough to cover my treatments, enough to give me a fighting chance, enough to let me focus on surviving instead of drowning in medical debt. I cried when Andrea showed me the total. Cried because people I'd never met cared whether I lived or died. Cried because I could afford the treatments my oncologist recommended. Cried because for the first time since my diagnosis, I felt something other than terror. The money went into a dedicated account. Andrea was the primary administrator, but she added my parents as secondary contacts, just in case something happens and you need help managing it. My mother was a retired accountant. My father was a financial advisor. It made sense to have them as backup. It felt safe, having family connected to the account that held my lifeline. If you've ever trusted the wrong people with something precious, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is about the day I discovered that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. And smash that like button if you think family should be the first people you can count on, not the first people who betray you. I started treatment in October. Aggressive chemotherapy that made me so sick I couldn't stand, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything but survive from one day to the next. My hair fell out in clumps. My weight dropped 30 pounds. I spent more time in the hospital than in my apartment. But I was fighting, and I was paying for that fight with money that people had donated because they believed my life was worth saving. My sister Vanessa got engaged in December. She called me from the hospital where I was recovering from my 3rd round of chemo to tell me the news. Her boyfriend Kyle had proposed at some elaborate rooftop dinner, and she was over the moon, and could I believe she was getting married? I was happy for her. Genuinely happy, despite feeling like death. Vanessa was my younger sister by 3 years, and we'd always been close. Different, she was the extroverted social butterfly while I was the quiet, creative type, but close. She'd visited me in the hospital, brought me magazines and audiobooks, held my hand during the worst moments. I loved her. I wanted her to be happy. I'm thinking a destination wedding, she gushed. Somewhere in Europe. Italy, maybe? Tuscany. Can you imagine? A villa, vineyards, the whole romantic thing. I made appropriate excited noises while trying not to vomit from the chemo. That sounds beautiful. When are you thinking? Next fall. September, probably. That gives us almost a year to plan. She paused. I know you're dealing with a lot right now, but I want you to be my maid of honor. I know the treatment is hard, but you'll be done by then, right? You'll be better. The doctors are optimistic, I said, which was true. If the treatment worked, if the cancer responded, if I survived, I'd be finished with the most aggressive phase by summer. I'd love to be your maid of honor. Perfect. This is going to be amazing, Mel. The wedding of the century. The wedding of the century. I didn't know then that she meant it literally. That my sister was planning a celebration that would cost more than most people spend on a house. That she was looking at venues with six-figure price tags and designer gowns and guest lists that included people she barely knew. I found out in March. I was between chemo rounds, feeling slightly more human than usual, when Andrea called me. Her voice was strange, tight, careful, like she was trying not to scream. Melissa, I need you to log into the fundraising account. Right now. Why? What's wrong? Just log in. Please. I opened my laptop with shaking hands. Logged into the account that held my cancer treatment fund. The account that should have had approximately $140,000 remaining after 3 months of treatment. The balance was $28,000. I stared at the number, certain I was reading it wrong. Clicked refresh. The number didn't change. $28,000. Where there should have been $140,000, there was $28,000. Andrea, where did the money go? Look at the transaction history. I scrolled down. And there they were, 3 massive withdrawals over the past 2 months. $50,000 in January. $60,000 in February. $40,000 in March. Each one authorized by my mother's login credentials. Each one transferred to an account I didn't recognize. Did Mom tell you she was withdrawing this? Andrea's voice was shaking. No. I don't understand. Why would she take my treatment money? Call her. Right now. Find out what the hell is going on. I called my mother with my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice bright and cheerful. Melissa, how are you feeling? Where's my money? No hello, no small talk. Just the question that was consuming me. What money, honey? The $150,000 that was withdrawn from my cancer treatment fund. Where is it? There was a pause. Not the pause of confusion, but the pause of someone who'd been caught and was deciding how to play it. Oh, that? Honey, I was going to talk to you about that. You stole $150,000 from my cancer treatment fund and you were going to talk to me about it? We didn't steal anything. Her tone shifted, became defensive. We borrowed it. For Vanessa's wedding. She needed help with costs, and we knew you'd want to help your sister. You took my cancer treatment money to pay for a wedding? It's not just any wedding, Melissa. It's a destination wedding in Italy. Do you know how expensive those are? Vanessa had her heart set on it, and we couldn't let her down. We're her parents. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what I was hearing. I have cancer. I'm in treatment. That money is supposed to keep me alive. And you're doing fine. My mother's voice took on that bright, dismissive tone she used when she didn't want to deal with unpleasant topics. The doctors said the treatment is working. You're going to beat this. You're being dramatic about a treatable illness. Dramatic? I'm dying. You're not dying. You're responding well to treatment. The doctors said so. Vanessa only gets married once. She only gets one chance at her dream wedding. You can always do more fundraisers if you need more money. If I couldn't even form words. You stole money people donated to save my life. Do you understand that? People gave that money because they wanted me to live, and you gave it to Vanessa for a party. It's not a party, it's a wedding. And we didn't steal it, we borrowed it. Once Vanessa and Kyler settled, they'll pay you back. When? I need that money now. I have treatments scheduled, medications I can't afford without that fund. You're being selfish, Melissa. My mother's voice turned cold. Your sister is starting her life. This is the most important day of her existence. Why can't you be happy for her? Why does everything always have to be about you and your cancer? Everything always have to be about you and your cancer. I was in the fight of my life, and my mother was accusing me of making my cancer too much about me. I'm talking to Dad, I said, my voice hollow. Your father knows. We made this decision together. We're Vanessa's parents, and we're helping her the way parents should. You'd understand if you had children. She hung up. My mother, who'd helped raise money for my cancer treatment, who'd stood beside me at fundraising events and thanked donors for their generosity, who'd promised to help manage the account responsibly. She hung up on me after admitting she'd stolen $150,000 to fund a wedding. I called my father. He was less defensive but equally unmoved. Your mother told me you're upset about the wedding money. Upset? Dad, that's my cancer treatment fund. That's money people donated to keep me alive. I know where the money came from, Melissa. But you need to understand, Vanessa is getting married. This is important. I have cancer. You have treatable cancer. The doctors said you're responding well. Vanessa only gets one wedding. We couldn't let her settle for something less than perfect just because you're having medical issues. Medical issues. My father, a financial advisor who understood numbers better than anyone I knew, had just called stage 3 cancer medical issues. How am I supposed to pay for my treatment? You still have some money left. Use that. And honestly, Melissa, a lot of your treatments are experimental anyway. The basic chemo is covered by insurance. You don't need all those extra treatments the doctor is pushing. The experimental treatments are giving me the best chance of survival. The doctor is trying to make money off you. Trust me, I know how these things work. Stick with the basics and you'll be fine. Vanessa needs this wedding. It's her dream. Why can't you be supportive? I hung up without answering. Sat in my apartment, the apartment I could barely afford because I wasn't working, because I was too sick to do anything but survive, and tried to process what had just happened. My parents had stolen my cancer treatment fund to pay for my sister's wedding. They'd taken money that strangers had donated because they wanted me to live, and they'd spent it on a party in Italy. And when confronted, they'd called me selfish for being upset about it. I called Andrea back. Told her everything. She was silent for a long moment. Melissa, we need to tell people. The donors, the community, they gave that money for your treatment. They deserve to know it was stolen. Vanessa doesn't know. I'm sure she doesn't know where the money came from. Are you sure about that? I wanted to be sure. I wanted to believe my sister wouldn't accept money stolen from my cancer fund. But I called her anyway. Asked her directly if she knew where Mom and Dad had gotten the money for her wedding. There was a pause. Too long. Too guilty. No, they said it was from their retirement fund. They said they wanted to do something special for me. It wasn't from their retirement fund, Vanessa. It was from my cancer treatment fund. They stole $150,000 that was donated to keep me alive. That's not, they wouldn't. Her voice was shaking. Melissa, they told me it was their money. I didn't know. Now you know. What are you going to do about it? Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Defensive. I mean, the wedding is already paid for. The deposits are non-refundable. And Mom said you're doing really well with treatment. The doctors are optimistic. You're going to be fine. I might not be fine if I can't afford the treatments that give me the best chance of survival. But you still have some money left, right? And honestly, Mel, Mom has a point. You're going to beat this. It's treatable. But I only get married once. I only get one chance at my dream wedding. Can you just be happy for me? I hung up. My sister, my younger sister, who I'd protected and supported our entire lives, had just told me her dream wedding was more important than my survival. If you're watching this and realizing that sometimes the people who should protect you are the ones who hurt you most, subscribe to this channel right now. We share stories every week about people who had to choose between family loyalty and self-preservation. Hit that like button if you think Melissa deserves to be furious, and drop a comment. What would you do in her situation? I spent 3 days in shock. 3 days of trying to figure out how to pay for treatments I could no longer afford, how to tell my oncologist I had to scale back my care because my family had stolen my medical fund. 3 days of watching my sister post wedding planning updates on social media, venue photos, dress fittings, excitement about her Italian destination wedding, while I was trying not to die. Then Andrea called me back. I talked to a lawyer. What your parents did is theft. Potentially fraud, since the money was donated with a specific purpose. You can file charges. They're my parents. They stole your cancer treatment money, Melissa. They committed a crime. And they're not sorry. They think they're entitled to it. She was right. They weren't sorry. In the week since I'd confronted them, neither of my parents had apologized. My mother had sent 2 texts, one reminding me about bridesmaid dress fittings, one asking if I'd be recovered enough to travel to Italy for the wedding. As if I'd be attending. As if I'd celebrate a wedding funded by my stolen cancer treatment money. The donors deserve to know, Andrea said quietly. The community that raised that money, because they wanted to save your life, they should know what happened to it. She was right about that too. Hundreds of people had donated. They'd given money because they wanted me to survive, because they believed I deserved a fighting chance. They'd trusted my family to use that money appropriately. They deserved to know the truth. Andrea updated the fundraising page. She didn't name my parents directly, but she explained that $150,000 had been withdrawn from my treatment fund by family members without my knowledge or consent, that it had been used for non-medical purposes, that I was now facing treatment gaps I couldn't afford. The response was immediate and explosive. Donors were furious. The local news picked up the story. Social media erupted. People who'd contributed $5 and people who'd contributed $5,000 were demanding to know how someone could steal cancer treatment money. The comments section filled with outrage, with people calling my family disgusting and sociopathic and worse. My parents' names came out within hours. Someone in the community knew them, put the pieces together, shared the information. Suddenly, Richard and Patricia Hartley weren't just anonymous thieves. They were named, identifiable, accountable. My phone exploded with calls from my parents. My mother first, her voice shrill and panicked. How could you do this to us? How could you tell everyone? Do you know what people are saying? Your father's clients are calling, asking questions. My friends won't talk to me. You've ruined our reputation. You stole my cancer treatment money. We borrowed it. For your sister. This is family business. You had no right to make it public. You made it public when you stole money that hundreds of people donated. They trusted you. I trusted you. You're destroying this family. Vanessa is devastated. Do you know what this is doing to her wedding plans? I don't care about her wedding plans. I care about staying alive. My father called next. His voice was ice. You need to retract that fundraising update immediately. You're making us look like criminals. You are criminals. You stole $150,000. We're your parents. We raised you. We deserve some consideration. You deserve to be arrested. Andrea talked to a lawyer. What you did is fraud. There was a pause. When my father spoke again, his voice was different. Calculating. If you pursue this legally, you'll tear this family apart. You already did that when you stole from me. Vanessa will never forgive you if you ruin her wedding. Tell Vanessa I don't care. Tell her to enjoy her destination wedding. Tell her every time she looks at her wedding photos, she can remember they were paid for with money that was supposed to keep her sister alive. I hung up. Blocked their numbers. Blocked Vanessa's number. Blocked everyone who was calling to tell me I was overreacting, being vindictive, destroying the family over money. The legal process was long and complicated. My parents initially refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing, claimed the money was a gift from them to me, and they could use it however they wanted. That argument fell apart when Andrea provided documentation showing the money was donated specifically for medical expenses, with donors clearly stating that intention. Eventually, my parents settled. They didn't want the publicity of a trial, didn't want to risk criminal charges. They agreed to return $100,000, not all of it, because they claimed some had already been spent and was unrecoverable, but enough to cover most of my remaining treatment. Vanessa's wedding was canceled. Or rather, Scaled back dramatically. Instead of Tuscany, she had a local ceremony with 30 guests. Instead of a designer gown and 4-day celebration, she had a simple wedding at a country club. She blamed me for ruining her dream day. Sent me a message through a cousin saying I was selfish and cruel, and she'd never forgive me for putting myself before her happiness. I didn't respond. What was there to say? My sister believed her wedding was more important than my life. My parents agreed with her. They'd all made their priorities clear. I completed my treatment with the returned money. The cancer went into remission 6 months after my family tried to steal my survival chance. I'm 35 now, 2 years cancer-free, back to working, back to living. I'm alive because strangers cared enough to donate, because Andrea fought for me, because I refused to stay silent when my family committed a crime against me. I haven't spoken to my parents since the settlement. Haven't spoken to Vanessa. Extended family split. Some sided with me, disgusted by what my parents did. Others sided with them, insisting family should forgive family, that I overreacted, that I should have just let it go. Let it go. As if they hadn't stolen money people donated to save my life. As if my cancer was less important than a party. As if I should apologize for surviving when they tried to take away my chance. If Melissa's story makes you angry, if you think she deserves justice instead of judgment, subscribe to this channel right now. We share stories every week about people who refuse to be victims, who fought back against family betrayal. Hit that like button if you think she made the right choice, and tell me in the comments, can you forgive family for something like this, or are some betrayals unforgivable? Melissa learned that survival requires more than medical treatment. It requires cutting out the people who value parties over your life. Her parents stole her cancer fund. Her sister accepted the stolen money, and when confronted, they called her selfish for wanting to live. Sometimes family is the enemy, and sometimes the most important thing you can do is save yourself, even if it means losing everyone who is supposed to love you. She chose life. They chose a wedding. And there's no coming back from that choice.